Hey guys, Mustached. Tom here to review the movie Backrooms. Apologies for the change in voice, but I am sick. I did take some medicine prior to recording this, so hopefully that will lessen me being all bleh. But nonetheless, I need to keep trekking. So, Backrooms came out based off of a video game, and wouldn't you know it, another YouTuber has stepped up to the plate for the third time in a short period of time, nonetheless. Starting off with Markiplier and Iron Lung, then with Obsession, and now Backrooms, which this is also based on a video game. It seems like us YouTubers know how to make a horror video game adaptations work really well. Well, I would actually argue that this is the weakest of the three, but I digress. So, I'll go over why this is the weakest of the three. This will be a full spoiler review. I've seen the trailers for this a few times, but I digress. So, with that being said, let's dive right in. The movie starts in some point in the 1990s, with a few first-person recorded shots of a man in a gas mask suit being lost in the back rooms, looking for any bit of aid in going to a room that has all the compiled gear from the rest of his crew, but he seems to be the only one remaining. So much so that he gets pulled out, as it were, and inevitably gets chased by an entity that we don't, as the audience, really ever see. I think that this not seeing the entity early on was a really smart call, as I will argue that the entity we see later on, who takes the position of a copy of Mark Clark, one of the two main characters, looks pretty damn bad. I'm not gonna argue anything more than that. But I digress. He gets trapped in a corner room and he gets torn to shreds, presumably. We then cut to a family, presumably of the woman here on the poster, and she narrates some interesting stuff towards us, the audience, particularly us as an entire group of beings doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result, aka living in insanity. And boy, out of all the lines in this movie, I think that one really sticks out as the line, as it were, to sort of pull back to. So they pretty much preempt their load, as it were. But I digress. So Clark sees this therapist. The therapist is the lady you can see there, Mary, in which she prompts him to do this little mini roleplay session about him coming back and being the assumed needed breadwinner of the family and going out and getting drinks. Obviously, being the breadwinner was never the issue. Going out and getting the drinks was. This is definitely hitting on the very... For a young YouTuber, this is really hitting upon the early 1990s, sort of like, even earlier, era of characterization of what was propagandized via American culture. But I digress. So, we see him, Clark, head toward the basement of his store. He sees a circuit breaker because the lights keep flickering, and it is through later on impressions that he slips inside the room, the back rooms, literally. So we see him flabbergasted and head back and forth throughout this space, and the space of the store. So, with that, he sees quite a numerous of things, like birds being seemingly flung around, dead, and so on and so forth. So, we see that various items are connected to the building. Even a hole filled with more stuff, like chairs and other furniture. He hears a noise, and he begins to try to flee the scene. We can see that he's being watched by somebody else, though. We cut to him showing her this map that he suddenly decided to have. It would have been neat seeing him sort of map out during that process, but there is a lot of cut stuff to be presumed throughout this entire movie. Anyway, he brings in this recorder guy that he was working with the commercial with and his girlfriend to check out the Backrooms further, investigate it more. They end up in a scenario where he's going down this slanted corridor and he gets pulled in by the creature, the entity that we don't know what it is fully, and is killed. Then, later, the two remaining, Clark and the lady, the girlfriend, get split up. She warns him that the entity is behind him, and it cuts away to Mary, the psychiatrist. From here, the movie takes from her position as she makes her way to the store and finds, indeed, the very same back rooms. Alluding to his drawing of it, and then, not too long deep in there, ends up meeting with him, but is proceeded to get choked out by him. We then cut to a scene where she is tied up and he forces her to recreate the once therapist session version of the returning home from earlier in the movie, only this time he gets her in the hair, and furthermore, she is now fed up with this idea that he's shifting the blame, that nothing can ever just be his fault. This level of toxic behavior is manifest. But she says that she can't fix him, only he can. And he opts to want to stay in this place. The back rooms. Everything makes sense here now. Unfortunately, we then get a glimpse at the creature that is a slightly bigger version of mutated Clark, it looks awful. And not in a horrifying way, but just, it looks really bad. It looks like something you would see in a PlayStation 1 game, but worse. So, yeah, the creature definitely needed some work. The creature gives chase after biting him, and she ends up further in the back rooms, as it were, as a result, crippling the creature. And she gets pulled in by this other group of individuals who are already in the back rooms, as it were. Previous MRI agents who now also observe the back rooms and wanting to learn all about them. So we get Phil wanting to learn more about this place from her, and the scene transitions after she's done talking with him, albeit in the empty version of a Backrooms, and it being a copied version of her being twisted into a different type of form. And that is how the movie ends. So nobody gets out safe or alive. And that is Backrooms. I think this movie could use from a bit of the most improvement, again, of the movies I have been seeing made by YouTubers. First is the pacing of the movie. It takes us a while to get into the main crux of the story, that being the backroom situation. What is in conjunction with that in the opposite direction is that we don't get to know too much about the characters other than the therapy session. I think by having the movie start in the Backrooms, whether it be featuring him, already in there, or maybe bumbling in there way sooner, and then getting a lot more of his perspective early on, up until we cut to her position. And of course, I think that having the little narrative lines, you would have to definitely rework some of them, but I could definitely see why, maybe like she, as an example, can work her way outside of the Backrooms. Like she actually gets out at a chance, but doesn't find him the initial time. That's when she does the narration about like how we do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Or maybe that's how we are introduced to her, is that we get that line, something to alter it. As it stands now, it fits almost as if it's retaining to something else, rather than in context of making the movie feel a little bit more cohesive. So yeah, I'm gonna give this movie a 6 out of 10. The lowest score of these movies. What I'm thinking of movies that are made by YouTubers, Obsession, Iron Lung. This is definitely the weakest one. Now, I know that there are fans of the Backrooms. I don't know what else to say other than I think just reworking it a little bit more, figuring out how to tighten up the writing, things of this nature would definitely help with the movie, and then you could look at the aesthetic portion of the film and make that part work separately. As it stands, a 6 out of 10 is still fine, so that's that. And that's my review of Backrooms. If you ended up enjoying my review, then please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Also make sure to check out those links In the description, want to head to my petition about small YouTubers to get to my PayPal. You can help support me and my channel directly, and third to my Discord server. Join collab shields, all that cool stuff for free. Until next time, everyone. Bye-bye.